Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. All right, y'all, I am back with another flashback. This flashback features Tori, aka Joy, and Vibes, aka Jasmine. All right, y'all, let's get into this video. Be sure to drop me a comment, smash that like button, guys. I'm trying to get all of my videos back into the suggested videos on YouTube. Thank you for your support.
Let me try and find. G does not let you play music anymore. And I cannot. Hello. Hey, Jazz. Y'all, we have another session, woman to woman, and this time it's gonna be with Jasmine. So give me a second. Let me find a little tune, a little 30-second tune to play while I let y'all come in. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about intimacy, the intimacy, the freaky nasty. It may not. Let me stop. I'm hyping y'all head up because there's so many other forms of intimacy, but I'm gonna wait for a few more of y'all to come in, and then we'll get into it. But Jasmine is in the room, so we gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it.
Did y'all just peep that Tori, aka Joy, called Jasmine by Vibes? That was her cult name. And I understand. It's hard to break that habit and, deprogram your mind from identifying people, places, and things in a certain way after leaving a cult. But I will say that these two ladies, I believe, have been doing really well for themselves since leaving Carbonation.
I'm going to be looking at my iPad during this because I have notes on my iPad of the questions that I want to ask her because, yeah, I have questions of my own. I have questions of my own that need to be answered. So let's get with it. Let me add, Jasmine, can you add, how do you request? Send a request. Can you send a request, please? And then we can get to it. Let's see. Okay. We can get into it after she sends the request. I can add her in and we can get this started. So if y'all have any questions on intimacy, add them in the question box and we'll answer them at the end of our little discussion. I'm such a hand talker. So yeah. If you have questions on intimacy or any other thing that we may discuss in the video, put it in the question box and we'll answer them at the end. And this is a new topic for me. I've dibbled and dabbled, and there she is. A little bit, very little, but this is Jasmine's lane. I'm clicking accept, and then there it is. Peace, love.
Hi.
This is my soul twin. Okay.
Oh my God. I tell you, I'm obsessed with your earrings.
Thank you. I got them on Etsy.
Oh my God, they're so sexy.
Thanks. And I had these dragonfly ones, and then they disappeared, and I'm so sad. But they're so Etsy. Etsy is the move for those.
They are
But
beautiful. Hi.
thank you for joining. I'm so excited. As you can see, I'm super excited. Like finally, we had our little mishaps, but we're ready. We're good. We're going. And y'all, again, this is woman to woman. This is a sacred place for women where we can talk about anything and everything under the sun. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to open up and add your 2 cents. We don't mind. Like I said, this is a safe place. Safe place, good vibes, all of that. So we have Jasmine here, and intimacy is her lane. It's her new lane. It's her new lane. And I want to start off by asking you what brought you to that lane? What brought you to knowing like, okay, intimacy is what I want to teach and what I want to teach the world pretty much.
Yeah. So I guess the thing that people expect me to say was like, oh, I had like a shitty sex life, or like
Right.
it was something super partner related. And although like my relationship had its things, I got a reading. And I was kind of in a place in my life where, you have your kids and you're just like, what do I have to offer? I'm a mom, like what else? So I was on more of a journey. Is there like a bad echo? I hope not.
No,
It's
I
Mexican war.
No.
I was on like a journey of just trying to figure out if I'm going to step out of like my mom lane and still be, but also like find my other things in life. Like what direction should I go in? So I got a reading, and within that reading, I have a lot of like health and wellness, 6-ish things. Okay, we can start there. But if I look at what's in my astrology, if I look at the things that I've kind of gotten myself into in life, because I've had the craziest like late teens, early 20s, back crazy shit in Atlanta. Like my life has always kind of geared in the path or on the journey of like complete emotional trauma and how to rebuild that with myself and how I can utilize the crazy things that I've been through to connect with my life. So it just kind of came from figuring it all out. I was like,
that early 20s, how can I connect with other people? And then, like you said, going through your own experiences, and then it pushing you in the direction of like, okay,
Y'all, you know what I do notice with Tori, aka Joy, and Vibes, aka Jasmine, is that they never, ever speak on their experiences in the cult. They just act as if it never happened. I'm sure a lot of their following and some of their following, the people already know. So I'm not sure why they don't bring it up. It's probably just too traumatic for them to talk about, because both of their departures were really, really traumatic.
Understand this is how I want to connect with people, and becoming a mother and finding your niche outside of being a mother. Like, I'm a mother, but I have my own passions, my own mission, and you finally connected with that. That's cool. I like that. So
hey.
the second question I have, what is intimacy? What exactly is intimacy? Because I feel like when we say intimacy, our first mind automatically goes to sex.
Yeah, for sure.
But we both know it's much deeper than that, and it's much more than that. So what exactly is intimacy, and what are the different types of intimacy?
Yeah, so I feel like at a younger age, a lot of us were associated sex with intimacy because the people in our lives, that's how they felt they could explain it to us. Like, oh, when you get, because we don't want to say sex, like as a parent, you want to dance around the subject. You don't want to be upfront with your children, which we really should be, right? But at that time, we needed the information, we needed the tea from our parents, and our parents didn't know how to talk to us. So they were like, when you're intimate later in life, and there's so many forms of intimacy. There's nine different forms of intimacy that we kind of utilize to connect with ourselves and our partner. So intimacy, as the blanket definition is, or my definition I like to use, is a way to be radically vulnerable with yourself or others. And it's not easy all the time. A lot of different things, a lot of traumas, a lot of experiences where we weren't completely able to heal or even process the things that we've been through. So it can be hard to kind of be
vulnerable. Be vulnerable and connect and build those different types of connections. So what are you said there's 9. I did not know there was that. I was thinking like maybe like 4 or 5. I know a few. So what are like the 9 types of intimacy?
So there's the main ones that we kind of hear more so about. So you have let's start with where our minds go, right? Like sexual intimacy, where you're actually like having sex with that person. There's physical intimacy, which is not sexual intimacy, where we're like, or kissing, or just caressing each other, or giving each other massages. Or in another facet, you can just nurture that person's physical body. Like if I come to you and I'm having an emotional moment and we don't have any words, but you're just holding me, like that is physical intimacy. And
So there's
a lot
sexual, physical, and then I know spiritual. I know spiritual is one.
of intimacy, yeah, cultivating that deeper meaning of life with ourselves or the person that we're with. There's mental intimacy, so like of intelligence and of connecting with your minds and like, you know, your belief systems and things like that. There's experiential intimacy, so having experiences together, be it like traveling or like different things like that. There's recreational intimacy, so that's more so like playing. I feel like as adults and as grown folk, we forget to like play together. Like we sit all the time to like play and like burn that energy and have that excitement, and then come out in from the playground and then they're straight, right? But we get so like wrapped up in our daily lives that we forget to just like play together. Like, you know, go to like our special places or go out and, you know, do nothing.
Yeah, I'm a big kid. Play tag. I play tag. I will chase you around the house with a Nerf gun. Like play, just have fun, expressing your inner child. So that's the recreational intimacy.
That's recreational. Let me see. Physical, spiritual, mental, recreational, experiential. Am I missing two?
There, I think we said 5. So we had sexual, physical, spiritual, experiential, and recreational. So that's 5.
And mental.
Mental. Oh yeah, mental. So that's 6. So 3 more. 3 more.
I counted 7.
My math is not mathing.
We're gonna come to it later.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of different ways. I remember when I first came into the realm of intimacy, I was kind of in the main 5, like not really like experiencing and all those things. I think the nitty gritty, and not to not deviate too much, right? But like the nitty gritty when I started my journey was how could I build a emotional relationship with myself? And like, okay, like there's so many different types, right? But the avenue to try to break down those barriers to kind of feel comfortable to building up to like being physical or even being sexual, if you don't know how to like feel your footing to kind of go there with your partner, or just your the dance of, you know, deeper forms of intimacy with your partner, I feel like emotionally is the gate. I'm
glad you said that. You mentioned being emotional with yourself, and that was actually one of the questions I had, like a sub question I had when with the types of intimacy is being intimate with self a type of intimacy. It is, because I feel like when you're trying to connect with another person, you have to connect with yourself first. Having that intimate relationship with yourself will make any type of relationship with anyone else a lot better, because a lot of times we jump into these partnerships and we jump into these relationships trying to connect, but we haven't connected with ourselves. We're trying to find that missing piece in another person. And then what happens when we do that is there's a bunch of chaos, there's a bunch of disappointments, there's all these expectations that aren't met because you were supposed to do that with yourself. You're supposed to build that intimate relationship with yourself and feel whole with yourself. And I feel like intimacy with self definitely is one. I'm not sure. Like I said, that I'm dibbling and dabbling in this, but I definitely feel like if it's not one, it should be one. And I feel like it's one of the major ones that most people should focus on, is being intimate. Can I be vulnerable with myself? Because I like that you said it's your definition of intimacy is being vulnerable. Can you be vulnerable with yourself and connect with your emotions and connect with what feels good to you, and how do you love yourself? You're not going to be able to do that if you're not vulnerable and sitting with yourself and able to look at yourself in the mirror. So I love that. Okay, so being intimate with self is definitely a type of intimacy.
Absolutely. I feel like it's the foundation. It has to, right? Like,
exactly.
Know how to properly express myself to you and what I need until I how to be comfortable alone in my own space,
Right.
period. And
Right.
it can be even more difficult with yourself, right? Because when you think of having and cultivating emotional and physical intimacy with your own being, there's nobody else around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you like are sitting in practice with like a mirror, or maybe you don't have a mirror, but you have to be faced with looking at you, feeling you, not allowing those thoughts that are kind of like, oh, I don't like this part of my body, and then you just like kind of move it out the way, like you sit with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have stomach rolls, I have stretch marks, I have the weight that I'd like to be, and then what, right? Like, because a lot of us like to sit with that part of the thought and then just like let it go. But like, okay, you're
Or
not where you
harbor
want.
on it, or harbor on that thought. I don't like my body, and then it breeds like this insecurity versus getting vulnerable with yourself. Okay, I'm vulnerable with myself. I don't like this part of myself. Okay, now do what? Now what are we gonna do with that? What are we gonna do with this information? And even in your transformation right now, like baby, you're working out. I see the abs poking through. Like that is self intimacy in itself. Like taking care of
Yep.
yourself. That is a form of self love, self intimacy. So you may have not been comfortable with where you were, and then you started taking care of yourself, making sure you had the time. I've been following you for forever now, we know that. So I followed your journey, and I've seen you go from like, okay, I'm finding this time for myself, I'm making sure I make myself a priority, I'm making sure that I'm on schedule, and now I see you actually taking the steps to take care of not yourself, and getting in the gym, and just loving on you. And I can just see you getting brighter and brighter as your journey progresses. And I'm definitely on that same journey where like I'm finally doing the same thing, where I'm like, okay, I'm learning to prioritize me and love myself, because I my relationship started lacking intimacy, but that was because I wasn't being intimate with myself. So when it came down to be vulnerable with my partner, I wasn't able to, because I feel I'm having all these other thoughts, that I have not sat with and become vulnerable with and addressed. And once you do that, like, peace. It's peace, and it's happiness, and it's joy, and it's love and light. But it's dark and shitty.
Right. Exactly. It is. It's like a dark tunnel, and it's very uncomfortable. And a lot of us communicate in different ways, right?
Hmm.
Like the women are emotional and men are logical, but it can be like, I don't know how to I don't know how to come into your space if we're not meeting in the same like
Mm-hmm.
energetic understanding. So I have this amazing book. It's called Unfuck Your Intimacy, Girl. It's amazing.
Ooh.
One of the well, it was like one of like the practices that they had in there was to it gave like a list of all of your body parts, and then it gave a list for your partner, the same thing. And it's like circle the things that you're most uncomfortable with. So like I would circle my 3 things, and Flo would circle his 3 things, and then it's like the next day we plan to be intimate. We decide like if it's like a physical intimacy, if it's a sexual intimacy, whatever we choose, because we're our own relationship, we're our own experience. And with that list of body parts that we've circled, we have to ask one another, like, can I touch this part? Because a lot of us just go up and like caress our partner, and then that could be an automatic like thing. That it's called Unfuck Your Intimacy. It's a book. It's on that could be the one thing, like when they go and they like touch your thigh, but you're like super insecure about your thighs in that moment, and it kind of shakes you, and then the whole thing breaks down, and then your partner's like, well, why can't I never touch you? But there has to be a boundary, right? We have to have our slow walk to this, so we learn how to have our mutual communication when we're walking towards growing in an intimate direction. It's the little nuances. Like there's so many little things that we kind of have to step back and be like, okay, we've always done it this way, and clearly it's not working.
Right.
So let's learn how to merge our understanding of each other. So, you begin to learn to dance, and then like it just becomes easier with emotional intimacy, learning, when the person is having a tough time, how to create the safe space in the middle. Like how to say, do you want me to talk, or do you want me to just listen? Or do you want my advice tomorrow? Do you want to just sit with this? Like, there's just the thing.
just even providing that safe space to express your emotions, because that was something that I felt a lot in past relationships where I would express an emotion and I would immediately be attacked for even having the emotion. Like I eventually I felt unsafe to even express that. I felt unsafe to even open up to you. So emotional intimacy is also just providing that safe space to express yourself.
All right, y'all. If you haven't picked up your copy of Greatness is a Habit, authored by Aaron Dixon, otherwise known as True, many of you know him as True. He is an ex-Carbonation member, and he's authored this amazing read. If you are interested in self-development and growth, this book is a good one for you. It's available on Apple Books for $1, guys. I got my copy and I love this book.
And know that that person isn't going to judge you for what you're expressing, and they're going to be there to listen or to talk.
Yeah.
So I like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And okay, so my other one was trauma and the effects on intimacy. You mentioned trauma. So how does trauma affect intimacy?
It's the whole pathway back. I feel like in our lives, we've gone through so much.
Mm-hmm.
Of us individually have had so many experiences, whether we know have had an effect on our ability to connect with ourselves or others or not.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to trauma, everything that we've been through, each individual thing will lead us back. It's almost like the sticky note that we can kind of use to bring us back to our comfortability at the end of that journey, at the end of that path. So say my trauma happens to be I've been sexually abused, right? Because that's the thing that a lot of us have as women, as men, humans have been. And I don't know how to be physically intimate with my partner because that person being in the vicinity triggers me. It takes me back to something that I went through, maybe maybe a face that he makes, or maybe touches me in a certain place. It just shuts me down. That trauma, and really taking it slow, and like I said, dialing it back and starting from the beginning of, okay, like we're going to take our time and we're going to talk through all of these feelings that we're having. We're going to have our emotional intimacy first.
Right.
Because there's no rush to have sex, for one.
Right.
It takes a lot of, like, then you feel comfortable. And I know I'm not the only one that.
Right. No, for sure.
Yeah.
No, for me, that's a definite where it was very difficult for me to have sexual intimacy and be vulnerable during sex, really open up and be able to feel comfortable and even have an orgasm because of trauma that I've experienced, whether it be sexual trauma or domestic abuse or whatever the case may be. It was very difficult to open up sex with sexual intimacy because of those past traumas. I feel like it affects it in that way where you have these boundaries and these, well, I don't want to say boundaries, you end up having these blockages, because when it's stemming from trauma, it's more of a blockage than a boundary, in my opinion. A boundary is where it's like it's not coming from a place of insecurity, a place of fear, and you're creating a safe place for. I'm trying to find the right words that how I want to describe this. But you get what I'm saying, though. So I feel like trauma can affect intimacy in a lot of ways, not just sexual intimacy, but um intellectual intimacy. You may not feel comfortable expressing yourself and communicating because of a trauma that may have happened as a child where you were always shut down when it was time for you to speak up. So it goes back to what we first said, where it's having that self intimacy, having that connection with self, and being able to sit there and process all of the stuff that you've been through, all of the trauma that you've been through, because it can affect intimacy in a vast majority of ways, but only you can know, because your journey is different from my journey, or from her's journey, or from his journey. Everyone's journey is different, but you have to be able to process and sit with yourself, and it's kind of hard to do when you're looking for yourself in another person when you're sitting right there.
We can only communicate on the level of which our personal experiences expand, right? So like, having this conversation with you only because I've had these past experiences that sit in the same space and connect. But on certain things, sometimes they miss because our partners don't go through the exact same things in the exact. So we have to learn how to cultivate our intimacy to just even talk the same language. Even
Yes.
so, like we can be open. Like
Yes.
a flow nice relationship, girl.
For those of you who do not know who Jasmine, aka Vibes, is, she got with Keys, the guy that gave Nature Boy the 300K, and they actually ended up leaving the cult along with Serenity and Rambo.
Girl, I would talk at him, through him, around him. He's just like, bitch, what are you talking? Like he wouldn't say that, you know. He would just be looking at me like, why are you so angry?
Right.
Like, why are you,
Right.
who are you mad at? And he would just shut down. So we had to really even, when this journey started to, for me, go deeper into like communication styles. And we had to talk to each other like 3-year-old kids. When you do this, it makes me feel like this. And for his mantra or his communication style in that moment, he had to be like, when you yell immediately, it makes me feel like I can't talk to you. It makes me feel like I don't listen to you. And it was so simple and to the point that it went where it was supposed to. There wasn't any fluff, buff. It was solid.
Right. I like that. Talking to each other like 3-year-olds. Because you're not going to sit there and scream at your 3-year-old. You're not. You're going to make sure you're calm. You're going to compose yourself. And you're going to be like, baby, this is what this is. And that really stops the other person from becoming defensive and shutting down. Like you saying, your husband putting up that block like, I don't even want to listen to you. You're just da 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 da. When what you're saying could definitely be valid. It was something that I've literally we went through the same thing. That was like I feel like everybody experienced that, but definitely learning how to reconnect through different forms of intimacy in order to like bring it all into one, bring it all into a whole thing. My next question for you is how can you have spiritual intimacy if you have different beliefs?
So, in terms of differing beliefs, as much as I want to sit here and say that like there's a end all be all to this, it's really contingent upon the couple. Like if you want to walk that path, it will take work because in my opinion, when it comes to spiritual beliefs, right, it can be as shallow as I just don't know, or surface as I just don't know and I don't want to get into it, and it can be deeply ingrained as this is why I'm existing on this planet. So if I remember my dad, he said, if you don't share the same hobbies and you don't share the same vision with your partner, it's impossible for you to paint them into your future. Just can't do it, right? So you have to be walking in the same direction. Vibrationally, you have to be headed towards a point in unison to be able to paint that person in your future. So I believe that it can work if there's a lot of communication. And there's a list of things that have to be on one accord for you to even talk that out. And you may not be able to do it just the two of y'all. You may have to have a mediator so everybody can see eye to eye if the love is that strong and you want to be in each other's lives. So emotionally, if you have two different ways of viewing the world spiritually or two different focal points of why you believe you're even here, emotions have to be expressive, balanced, vulnerable, but you have to be able to have a grounded communication to even figure it out.
I love that.
Yeah. It could be different for everyone, and I don't believe that would be easy because then you have kids involved. Like, what are we going to teach our kids? Are we going to teach the children both? Are we going to say this is our own individual experience and give our children a wealth of different opportunities and information, and then they can decide. There's different ways you can, figure it out, but it really is contingent upon if you just trust that person and yourself enough to hold it together to figure it out.
Right. I like that. I like that. The communication and just, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She gave you a bunch of different ideas for that one. I
Yeah.
can say the only thing I would want to add to it is when it comes to spiritual intimacy as well, I'm going to keep saying it. It goes back to self-intimacy at the same time too, because if you have different belief systems, you don't want to end up compromising yourself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what I've read a lot, have you ever heard of Quora Digest? I don't know. Okay, you may probably not. It's just like pretty much like a platform where people go and post questions, and then like people just ask a bunch answer, give you a bunch of different answers. And I saw a question where a woman was like, her husband's Muslim and she's something else, something else. And they kept butting heads because different spiritual religious belief systems, right? And I felt like, okay, if she could have been the type that was just like, okay, well, I can practice this and I can practice that, even though she didn't believe in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up compromising herself. And then she eventually begins to resent her partner and resent, causing a bunch of anger. So I feel like it goes back to self-intimacy and knowing what you can handle and what is acceptable to you and how you can accept another person with a through communication, like you said, with a different belief system. So I honestly, you have to know what's good for you,
Yeah.
what you can handle and how you're going to address the situation when things do happen, because when you do have two different minds coming together as one, it can get shaky and it can get rocky, and you're gonna need to go back to that communication and figure out, okay, although I believe this and I believe that, I respect your opinion and your perspective, and I respect your perspective, and we can move forward with some type of agreement,
Yeah.
where we're not both compromising who we are.
Yeah.
So I like, yeah, that's you put very well put. That was very well put. That was a very difficult question. That was very well put.
Thanks. So
Let me see. Can you have intimacy? Well, this has already been answered, honestly. It's, can you have intimacy without sex? And what are some ways to create the intimacy without it?
Yeah. So absolutely. I feel that sexual intimacy is very important. I feel like it's a gift to be able to connect with someone on that level. But there's a lot of other ways that we can feel whole. We come into this world and there's nature and there's nurture. There's the fact that we have to eat, sleep, be sheltered. But we also need to be touched. And a lot of us don't realize that if you're not getting human connection, you can die. Even at an old age, right? Like not even this little baby, like being sick from, or just, there's a lot of different diseases that you can start to get. Your body can be thrown out of whack and your heart can have all these issues because you're not getting what you need emotionally. The emotions and the stress turn into things that can kill us. So it's very vital for us in our relationships to find ways to be happy and intimate and share the same space together in different parts of our lives. So I remember when I was pregnant these 2 times around, you know how it is, where me personally, it's not like this for every woman, but I was not interested in having sex. It's just like, don't touch me, don't look at me for more than 10 seconds, and every hour I'm gonna scream. Like I was crazy. I was a whole experience, right?
Yes.
I started my journey of learning how to be more intimate when I was pregnant with Nova. And the perfect time in my life where sex just wasn't the option. So what else are we going to do to connect? Actually, I don't know if you hear. So what else are we going to do to connect and feel present in this relationship together? And it was a great time to unravel and touch on these different points of just bringing it back home and feeling connected again. You said, what are some of the different ways we can be intimate with each other besides sex?
by creating like the romantic setting of intimacy, you know?
Yeah. So, um, there's different steps, or I'd say there's different comfortability levels for everyone. I'm not saying they go and do this and automatically be comfortable, but
Mhm.
um, with your, let's start with your partner first. With your partner, you can just sit and write together, write your goals. I find it's the beginning of the year, so it's so
Right. That
perfect.
that was actually one of my that's what I'm planning date night. Babe, don't watch this part. But that was date night. I'm planning like to do a little vision board thing this week. So
That's
yeah.
beautiful. Like I said, paint yourself into your future together, you know? So you vision board, you can write a letter to the person that you love to like nourish them on days where y'all just ain't, got it together. And that's very cool. You can just go on a ride together. One of the random things Flo and I did when we were still living in Hawaii was we downloaded an app where it was like, you know how like you have an app and it's like a generator where it's like you push a button. So
Mhm.
we had like it was right, left, straight, and back.
Mhm.
And we were letting the app decide like which way we would turn. And we would like find these random ass places that some of them were actually really beautiful. And that was a way we played together. I mean, just creating like connection through mystery and random apps that you find on App Store. Um, holding hands, cooking together, planning a trip together, not just letting one person plan the trip, but actually like allowing both of your input to, create the experience. For example, with emotional intimacy, just planning, building up your patience ahead of time and asking your partner, what can I do for you? Like, is there anything that you feel like I can do? And then you have to take on that mission to be ready to not only interject and argue, because you can't do that. You came into this asking your partner to, express to you what they may be needing, but utilizing that as a way to continue to show it, write it down. Try to go a certain consecutive amount of days with doing that for the person that you're with, or ask yourself, what can I do for me?
Mhm.
um, for yourself, ways to be intimate with you. My favorite thing to do that is so uncomfortable in the beginning, but I ended up loving it, was looking at my naked old Jasmine in the body, or in the mirror and in my body, and being like, I'm okay with this. And in the beginning, I wasn't. I was not okay with it,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
but I'm okay with this. And I love this body, and I love that this body has gotten me from point A to point B. I love that this body has been through it. I love that this body isn't perfect, but it's still loved by me and people around me.
Mhm.
I'm breathing, because if I wasn't breathing, I literally would not exist. And I may not have all the friends in the world, I may not have all the money in the world, but this body allows me to have this experience, hard or not. I get to have this experience, and I'm thankful for it. And for some reason, just talking to myself, I got more confident in my body, and I started taking the steps to actually do something about it. It's like I became who I wanted to be first, and then it made it easier to like walk in that direction.
Mhm.
So there's just so many ways that you can build up trust in yourself physically and sexually. I mean, hey, we know what sexual intimacy with self can look like, and it's beautiful, and don't feel like it's not okay, because it's perfect.
Mhm.
For anybody that needs to hear that,
Right.
your relationship with you is, like you said so beautifully, number one, and it's the thing that's going to get you all of the other blessings and the gifts in the end.
That's all the questions I have, honestly. You answered them so beautifully, and I'm gonna have to rewatch this, honestly, because you dropped a lot of jewels. You dropped a lot of jewels, and I appreciate you. If you want to like say anything to the people, go ahead. I had one more question, but we already answered it like 10 times, and like your last sentence answered it as well. It was how important is being intimate with self. Hold on, let me read it. How important is loving yourself first and creating an environment for romance and love? And like you said, it's the foundational piece. It is so important. We don't want to be the dead horse here. But if you have anything else you want to add, please, just just flow. Pun
Girl,
intended. Pun intended, just flow. Go ahead, do your thing.
I don't know. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for keeping us connected and reaching out and allowing us to have this moment together. It really means so much to me. The people don't,
Likewise.
but like, we have a healthy thing going from the first time that we met, and it's beautiful. And I'm happy that we could, talk to women
Yes.
and all the other beautiful women or guys who are on here too, whatever. I seen Flo come in here. He probably walked in and walked out. I know, but
I do the same thing.
yeah.
No, but I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. That's true. Like since me and Vibes met, like we've had this thing where we can just be completely vulnerable with each other. We started off button heads, and it was like we were literally like 5-year-olds, like, and then it was like, okay, okay, I see where this place is coming from, and we were able to just be vulnerable and talk about it, and we've been good ever since. And I love that. I love that I could do that with you, and like we were able to handle everything so maturely and I was able to even come to like deeper understanding within myself. I'm like, okay, where is this coming from? And honestly, like the energy that I was feeling when I first met you, when I like now, I didn't know this then, but now, like that the energy that I was feeling from you, I now know is because you are a healer, and what you're doing is going to heal so many people. You have such a strong presence. When I tell you, vibes, not Jasmine, vibes will walk past me, and I would feel like it in my whole body. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is this chick? Like, who is she? Like, why do I keep I'm feeling this in my gut anytime she walks past me? And it's just like now I know it's because she's a powerful presence, and she's meant to help heal so many women. And listen, if you ever have watch this video over, because I'm telling you it's gonna help. I know it will. But even go to her page and just watch her post, and I guarantee you're gonna feel inspired, and you're gonna be able to connect with yourself in deeper ways and understand yourself on another level. And I love your spirit, I love your soul, and I love your presence. And I'm glad that I got to meet you and actually connect with you. I appreciate you. Stop. Stop. No.
You want me to cry in this
No,
camera?
don't do that. Don't do that. That's not what okay, we can, because I said this is a safe place. But no, I really do appreciate you, and thank you for coming
I got
on.
on your nerves when we first met. I know I did, and it's because I have this aggressive love. Like I really liked you. I really wanted to be around you. But thank you for seeing me, and even seeing things in me when we both were on this journey of trying to figure our shit out, because it was a lot. Um, and yeah, ever since, these past, two and a half years,
Mhm.
we've been able to connect on what we really love and who we really are. And yeah, I'm so happy we have this connection and this relationship. And I'm so happy for your platform. And I know that you'll have so many wonderful women on here to vibe with. You are like a beautiful woman magnet.
Thank
You'll have
you.
all of the beautiful. You're gonna have a podcast.
I don't really know what's going on with Tori, aka Joy, these days. She's been really quiet on social media.
You need a podcast, girl.
This is kind of like the podcast. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, I can just start here and then like figure it out as I go. Just do it. Just start somewhere, Tori.
This is
That was like my thing.
start. And I'm really so thankful that you brought me on here to chat and connect and almost make me cry.
All right, have a good night, vibes.
You
Well,
too.
have a good night, Jasmine.
I can do whatever. I'm
I
here.
don't know. I don't know how to disconnect you. I'm be honest. There's no X. I'm an old lady when it comes to social media, so I don't have it. I don't got it.
Bye,
Honestly.
y'all. Love you, girl.
Peace. Okay, she got it. That was Jasmine, y'all. Y'all know her. She's beautiful presence. Like I said, go check her page out. She's awesome. And rewatch this video. Okay, I want to say something before I get off of here. I'm about to chin check you. Don't let it don't get butthurt. But when I do these, come in and sit the fuck down. Come come in and be still and be present in the moment with us. Don't be coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. Sit down and enjoy the moment. Be present in the moment and allow yourself to focus on something for more.
All right, y'all. If you haven't picked up your copy of Greatness is a Habit, authored by Aaron Dixon, otherwise known as True, many of you know him as True. He is an ex-Carbonation member, and he's authored this amazing read. If you are interested in self-development and growth, this book is a good one for you. It's available on Apple Books for $1, guys. I got my copy and I love this book.
More than 10 seconds, because I get it. We have all these reels, we have all this fast instant gratification, and sometimes the message, it's gonna take longer than that to get to you. So sit down and enjoy the moment and be present and actually focus and allow yourself to process all of the information that you're getting. And then after this, turn it all off, because it's 8:45. Turn this shit off and allow yourself to be present again. Be present in the moment and download and digest the information that you had, because it's like what Vibes and I said, Jasmine and I said in the beginning. I know her as Vibes, so it just keeps coming back. Excuse the fuck out of me. But as we said in the beginning, self-intimacy is that self-intimacy. Being able to sit with yourself is like the foundational piece. So sit with yourself afterwards and truly process and allow yourself to digest. You know how many fucking Virgos I have? Like, kiss the veil. You're a Virgo. I know that I have a Virgo Mars. We're the type that we actually have to digest. And with the way that social media is now, it's very difficult to digest everything that you're intaking. So simplify it. Sit still, be still, process it, come back to. Y'all heard me the first time. So I enjoyed y'all, and I can't wait to connect with y'all in the next one. Peace.
All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video as well as my commentary. Please be sure to drop me a comment, smash that like button. Thank you guys for your continued support. This is a huge undertaking for me to re-upload all of my content. I have a lot of videos, y'all. So I hope y'all are ready to see a lot of flashbacks and take a couple of walks down memory lane with me.